So we're here at the Irish Linen Centre in Lisburn Museum. We're two museums in one. One side is dedicated to the history of the Irish linen industry, and the other side we have Lisburn Museum, which tells the story of Lisburn and the Lagan Valley. So today we're looking at the Nickerson watch, a damask proof cloth, and some Egyptian linen. So our story really begins with A.T. Stewart, who was born just outside Lisburn, and he emigrates and he becomes one of the richest men in all of America. During the 1860s, there's a severe cotton famine, mainly because of the American Civil War. Supplies of American cotton are cut off, and the weavers, whose whole livelihood is really based around the weaving of cotton, it just dries up. So there's great distress. So in 1863, A.T. Stewart charters Captain Moses Nickerson ship, and he sends it over with supplies for the distressed weavers. And he also takes a number of the weavers, around 100, 120, back to New York and Philadelphia. So the Lisburn Relief Committee presented Captain Nickerson with this special watch at a ceremony in Belfast in 1863. So Moses Nickerson, he's quite an interesting character. He's from Massachusetts and he's a whaling captain. His cousin Thomas had also been a whaling captain, and he was believed to be the inspiration for Herman Melville's Moby Dick, because he was stranded at sea for 3 months. So Lisburn, of course, is famous for linen, particularly the production of linen thread, but also linen damask. Nearby the museum we have Colston's Damask Factory, which is producing linen damask for the royals in Europe. But John Shaw Brown's at Eden Dairy is also very important. So when you're producing linen damask, it's quite an investment, and before you produce the final cloth, it's important that you produce a proof napkin like this. So when you have it in a darker colour, it gives you good relief, and you can see where there's issues in the pattern, if the punch cards need to be recut and the design needs to be redone. So it's a really important part of the production of linen damask. I suppose as evidence of the importance of the linen damask industry and its international links, this is a cloth for the Irrawaddy Float Company in Myanmar. It's a Scottish company, but they're a huge steamship, and the diners would sit as they float along, and they would use fine Irish linen damask.
This is a piece of linen from the tomb of Tutankhamun. The cloth was actually taken out of the tomb by Howard Carter himself, and he met a man from York Street Flax Spinning Company who was a flax buyer, whose name was Lieutenant Colonel Victor Unsworth. Unsworth had mentioned to Carter where he was from, that he was from York Street, which at that time was the biggest spinning mill in the world, would have been world renowned, and Carter gave him 3 or 4 pieces of linen from the tomb, asked him to bring it back and do a little examination of it just to see how fine it was. So Lieutenant Colonel Unsworth put it in his case, went on with his flax buying mission, and by the time he got back to Belfast, he'd forgotten about it and was left in a wardrobe, until he had passed on, and his nephew, called Mr. Moorhead, was actually going through his uncle's belongings and found the linen and brought it in to us. One of the unusual things about this particular piece of linen is how fine it is, and the more threads, the finer the linen. Average over here is probably these days about 250 threads per inch, which is quite fine, but this piece of linen has over 300. And some of the finest pieces of linen from Tutankhamun's tomb had 545 threads per inch of cloth. That works out that every thread was about half the thickness of a human hair.
So why should you visit us? We have a great range of exhibitions, workshops, free events. You can enjoy live spinning and weaving demonstrations, a really varied collection. You'll find a wee bit of history. For more information, visit lisbonmuseum.com or visit our social media.